Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest here on the Just Acting Up show. I got to introduce this brother the right and proper way, man. And first and foremost, thank you for joining us, King.
I appreciate y'all having me, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We also have Tabitha in here as our special guest host. So, Tabitha, Queen, thank
Mhm.
you for joining us.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Morning, morning.
good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So, let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. We have union actor, indie filmmaker, producer, acting coach, and he has his own organization that we actually will definitely do a deep dive into. And let's not forget, most importantly, he's a girl dad. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
round of applause for Chris Greene. Come on now.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, that last part is definitely the most important and the most expensive. So for sure.
Oh
I
man.
agree with that.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Right here, bro.
Okay.
I'm
I
girl
got
dad
one
Yeah.
too.
girl and three boys.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you protected though. You got three boys, so you're gonna be taken care of. And that's all good.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
very
we still gotta open up the wallet even when we old and in the senior citizen home. Oh,
Boy.
daddy, I love you. So by the way, my mortgage. Oh, okay, baby, here you go. Uh,
Yeah. I'm trying to get prepped and prepared for all that, man. That's why we do what we do. Like
Right,
like
right, right.
like daddy. All right, baby. I got you, sweetheart. I got you.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yes, sir. Let's go and get into it, man. Tell us, real quick, where are you originally from and what do you love
Mhm.
so much about your hometown?
Uh, I'm an East Coast cat, man. I hopped all over the place, but born in Mount Vernon, New York, which is right next to the Bronx. But we're most notably known for Denzel. That's a proper way to say his name. Denzel
Yeah.
Washington and Heavy D are staples, and then of course myself. I'm gonna throw myself in the hat. But anyway,
Okay.
born in Mount Vernon, New York. Lived there till I was probably, if I remember correctly, I don't know, I was very young, but maybe 8 or so. And then we moved to YO, moved to Yonkers, which is also New York, Westchester area. And let me clear this up, man, because I get tired of people saying this. It's usually people from the city hating, but let me clarify. Yes, we are uptown, but we're not upstate. There's a big difference. There's a big
Mm.
difference. Upstate is like past Rochester. We're before that. So stop trying to play cats that are from Yonkers or Mount Vernon or Pelham or wherever. Stop trying to play them like they're not New Yorkers. Like knock it off. So from there, I love New York, man. Anybody who's ever been to New York, whether you've been to the city or even if you've been up in Buffalo, New York is it's just a different energy, especially in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So, you get there, man. It's all grind time, man. It's hustle mode. It's get to where you're going. People think New Yorkers are rude. We're actually not. We're just focused. So, like, if I have something I have to do, it's boom. I've got to get to that. Now, if you happen to get in the way of that, it's gonna be a problem. But also, if I happen to peep that you need some help, I'll help you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's not an issue at all. So yeah, it's I love it, man. I definitely miss it, especially as I've gotten older.
Mm.
I miss it a lot. I left New York when I was, teenager, 13 or so, and we had to move to the South. I got what I call fresh princed. Block was getting a little too hot. Mom's was tired of it. My mother's originally from North Carolina. She's from Kinston, North
Mm.
Carolina. So she wanted to go back to North Carolina. So we had to get up out in New York. My pop stayed in New York, so I would go back for the summers, hang out with him until he passed. But uh, yeah, it was a big transition from north to south. And then when we were in North Carolina, it was even worse because now it was a transition of black to redneck.
Right.
So not only was I damn Yankee, I was also one of them colored boys. So it was like, man, you can't win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, New York has always been great. I just recently got to go back home for Tribeca, the movie I was in, Sovereign, with Nick Offerman, Jacob Tremblay, Dennis Quaid. Had a supporting role in that, and we premiered at Tribeca. So that was cool. Got to go back home, and that was the first time I've actually got to go to Tribeca. Even though I'm from New York, I've never been. But so it was great to not only go back, but also have a film premiering in there. So that was cool, and got to take some of my homeboys who have never been around, the city and show 'em some things and all that. So it was pretty cool. Got to catch up with fam and all that. And some of the fam got to come out and watch the film, and and support. So yeah, man, New York is always going to be home, man. I love New York.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I don't want to skip over that. I don't know how long your father has transitioned, but don't want to highlight
Mhm.
that and say RP to the king.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you,
for
thank you.
that. Yes, sir. And that's congrats on that as well too, on the film getting the film festivals. Myself and Tabitha have been stressing to a lot of people here in where we stay at to start pushing for film festivals and like get
Right.
everything you can get together to get in those film festivals, because that's another way to
Hmm.
get noticed and get with other actors that you've worked with that you just mentioned. So congrats on that as
Right.
well, dude. So happy for you on
Right.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, festivals are the way to go, especially now, man, with the way the market is and the industry is. Excuse me, it's never going to change. It's never going to go back to what it was. And I don't
Mm,
say that to be a pessimist. It's just a reality. Too many sponsors and corporate bigwigs have gotten a hold of the industry, man. It's no longer run by creatives. You have this tech thing with technology and obviously the AI and all that. So festivals are like really our last saving grace for true creatives in the industry to go out there, get your work exposed. Are you going to make a lot of money from it? No, but that's the whole point of the festival is to go and link with other creatives and create and then utilize these tools to make that money, whether it's streaming, social media, whatever. But to work with this last of this dying breed, these OGs that are, truly Oscar winners, Emmy winners, the great actors and directors and writers and creatives, festivals are the way to go. And especially if you go to the big ones, that's the thing about a lot of these great festivals that I like, especially the independent ones or ones that are geared toward independent filmmakers. They're not falling for that corporate sponsorship crap. You know what I mean? Like they'll get a
mm,
few here and there to make it run, but they're not like selling themselves out to that. It's like at the end of the day, you'd rather stay small and work with the filmmakers. So,
mm,
Tribeca is still to me one of those ones where yeah, you had some big sponsors there, corporate sponsors, but it was also no BS. Like you didn't see a lot of like
yeah.
social media influencing going on and all that. And no knock to social media influencers, but to me, it's just
Right.
like that's a different lane than filmmakers. And some
Right.
people want to blur the two lines. But it was great, man. So yeah, festivals. If you get a chance to just shoot something, make it, submit it to a festival, man. You never know if you're gonna get in or not.
Hmm.
Shout out to my brother, man. My brother from another, Roy Williams Jr., man. They worked on this short for a couple of years, and to them, they're thinking like, this is a little short and whatever.
Yeah.
And the short film that he's a lead in, man, is dominating the festival circuit right now. People are falling in love with that short. And I told him, even when I saw the preview of it, I told him, I was like, fam, your life's about to change, bro, off this short. And he's like,
Nice.
whatever. And now he's seeing because I'm like, this is probably one of the illest shorts I've ever seen, dude. Like, and you could tell they took their time with it. And again, if they didn't put it out at the festivals, I don't think it would have got the same amount of love it's getting now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
don't shortchange those fests at all.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tab.
So what led you into your journey of becoming an on-screen storyteller or an actor?
Yeah, so I was going to school at Winston-Salem State University, HBCU. Shout out to Winston. Um, and that's in North Carolina. And I was going to be a music teacher at first. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to teach because I was a pain in the ass to my music instructors and kids. Like, I'm like Bernie Mac, I'll fight a kid, I'll chop a kid in the throat or something. You know what I mean? So I was
I
like,
agree. These
at
kids
that time,
different.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
Different
like, I
time.
don't know if I want to, yeah. And teachers don't get paid a lot, unfortunately. So I was like, I don't know, man, if I really want to do this. So about halfway through college, I'll say right into my junior year, I was like, oh, I'm gonna switch to mass communications because I was like, maybe I'll do something, with music broadcast or something. I don't know, but it was definitely going to be music and or some sort of law enforcement because my brother is retired law enforcement. I've got another brother that's military. Most of my family is military. Well, have dabbled in the military, and so I was like, all right, cool. That's probably what the path is going to be. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And my end of my sophomore year, like that summer in between sophomore and junior year, a um, cat that I was cool with at the time, and there's no beef or nothing. We just, time goes, people grow apart or whatever.
Right.
But at the time, North Carolina School of the Arts was about 10 minutes from Winston State University. And at the time, North Carolina School of Arts was like one of the top 5 performing arts schools in the country. Dated myself because I'm older, but whatever. I'm seasoned, I
Yeah.
should say. So this
Yeah.
was like 2002, yeah, like 2002, 2003 range, and he was like, "Hey, man, yo, this summer we're shooting. I'm helping produce a thesis film, and we need some background actors, and we need this, and we need that." And I'm like, I don't know nothing about acting other than going to the movies, paying for a ticket, and watching. Now, I've always been a fan of movies. Like, my
Yeah.
pops, he had like the VHSs stacked to the ceiling, dude. Like laser disc. Yeah, yeah, that's how old I am. That's right. I know some of y'all
Um,
kids. No, I know y'all know, but I like some of
we
the
Yeah,
younger
know
people don't know
yeah.
what that
I
is.
still
them
have
Yeah,
some.
them
yeah,
Disney
exactly.
them Disney DVD them
That's
Disney
Yeah,
oh yeah.
boxes, the
still got
original. Yeah.
some.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
all that. I mean, he had them stacked all the way up. He had Laserdisc. He had the whole nine. So when I
Yeah.
was spending summers with him, that's all I would do. Like if I wasn't on the block chilling with my homeboys, riding bikes, whatever, going to the corner store. Then it was when I was inside. It was watching movies all night till 2, 3 in the morning. Burning the
Mm.
hell out of that. VCR. So and then the good old days where you go to Blockbuster on Friday. You like yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blockbuster time. And
Yeah.
so I would just watch them, but I would always find myself, I don't know why, and this is even before IMDb was out. I was always curious as to, why all these names at the end of the movie? Like, who are these people?
Mm.
So I would sit there and watch the credits because it was just like, all right, well, what does a producer do? What is it like? All right, whatever. But that was my extent of the knowledge. I never wanted to be an actor growing up or any of that. And so when he first told me like background, I was like, what the hell does that mean? He's like, are you standing in the background? When you watch the movies in the crowd, people, that's called background. Like, I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know, man. That seems whack to be up there for that. I was like, that's nah, hell nah. He's
Mm.
like, it's a club scene and there's gonna be some girls there. I was like, what time I need to be there? Like, how early can I get there?
Let me
Because
sign
there's
up.
gonna be some girls there. Yeah, where do
Yeah.
I sign up? So, I was able to do that. And when I got to this spot, the place that they were using for the club, I think it was like if I remember correctly, it's so long ago, but it was like a dollar store or something. But it was basically like a space that was used to be something else, totally emptied. And in a couple of weeks, they turned this into like a fully functioning club. Like they went in and built the
Mm.
set out, all that. And I'm like, these are film students. And I was like, yo, this is great.
What?
So much to the point to where people thought it was like a new club that opened up. Like people were pulling in the parking lot. Now I was shooting a movie. Now it's not a real club, whatever. And as I got to watch the process, man, the director, Lavender Gill, I think he's still a teacher over there now. The film's called Chicks 101. It was his first big feature film. At the time, I don't know if you guys remember, Steve Madden was like popping back then. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like his
Mhm.
Yeah.
shoes was popping. So I had on some Steve Madden. I used to work at Journeys actually in the mall.
Ooh,
And
yep.
so yeah, so I got some Steve Maddens. They were like super bright silver with like a black stripe on them. Like you wouldn't catch me dead in those today. Like them joints look like the reflective vests when somebody's broke down on the side of the road, like
Yeah.
AAA. That's how them shoes. That's how bright them shoes were. So the director was looking. He had to do something, and so I know you all know, but for your audience that may not know, so I got bumped. So what that is obviously is if your background and the director sees you and they want to feature you, they're like, hey, we're gonna bump you
Mhm.
up from the background. So that's what happened. He saw my shoes. He was like, man, this shoe's loud as hell, but I need that for the scene. So you come over here and stand right here. The main actor is gonna come up. And he was like,
Yeah.
the main actor's gonna come up. He's gonna try to flirt with the lead actress. You're standing there watching this, and then she's gonna diss him. He thinks he's got all the swag. He's gonna be like, "Yeah, girl, blah blah." She'll be like, "Whatever," and walk off. And I just want you to be like, "Oh, like he got dissed." So I was like, "All right, cool." So we do the first take, and it's a wide shot. And so of course I overact because I've never done this before. And I'm like, "Oh, snap, son, she played you, blah blah." And George is like, "Cut, hey man, you just gotta go like this. You don't gotta do nothing else." I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I got you. So they push in for a close up. Now, mind you, we're shooting on film. Remember, this is 2002. Digital wasn't really popping like that. So we're shooting on film.
Right.
So she comes up, he comes again, he does that. And now we're in like a two shot. And I'm kind of like off to the side where I can see him. And the camera comes in. I'm like, well, the camera looks a little close. I'm not going to be in it. So naturally, it's one of those things where, like, say if y'all are in the two shot, and, I'm not in the camera, I'm like more like this. So he's like, action.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, all up in the camera. And the guy's like, fuck. He's like, hey, he's like, young man, just stand here, don't do nothing. And the lead actor is like, hey, bro, listen, you gotta calm down. I know you're excited, you gotta calm down. So we're done, and it was cool. Let's shout out to Living. He had patience with me. He comes up to me after, he goes, look, man, clearly you don't have any training. He's like, but you're also not camera shy, and I feel like you got some sort of energy behind you. He's like, I suggest you take some acting classes. He's like, I think you'll do well in this industry. And he was, between, my homeboy that asked me to come in and between the director giving me that advice, that's what really got me jumped off into it. Because, had I not had that, I probably wouldn't be talking to you guys because I would have still been that guy looking in the camera like, yeah, thinking,
Yeah.
hey, I could just get on set. And like, some people think that anybody can do what we do, right?
Right.
And the director was like, listen, take that energy, man, and learn how to use it for the screen, and go take an acting class. And luckily, the acting classes I started taking, I was fortunate enough to where my instructors wasn't just about film and TV. They were like, man, you got to get your ass on stage. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you become a real actor. So I, did some black box stuff. I was doing showcases and all that. And I really miss being on the stage. I'm not complaining my career took that turn for like, doing dominating film and TV, but
Hmm.
I'm in stage, and every time I get the opportunity to do it, they're
Yeah.
like, all right, cool, we're gonna have you for this, black box or off Broadway thing. And then I'll get called to do a show. Hey, we need you for a couple episodes. I'm like, guys, listen, like, yeah, we can't do
Mm.
that, bro. It's stage. You gonna have to sacrifice. I'm like, no, that pays the
Yeah.
bills though. Stage, I love stage, but you ain't paying my bills,
Right.
So but that's how I got jumped into it. Long story long, that's how I got jumped into it. Was just, a friend was like, "Hey, man, come be in the background." I saw how amazing everything was, and that's how the bug bit me. I was like, y'all gonna get paid for this? Like, as
Yeah.
far as a career, just to build sets and come up here and act like you in the club." And I'm like, this is crazy that they get paid all this money for this. I was like, man, I might want to forget this teaching thing. Let me see what's up, you
Yeah.
know and went into it from there. Now, obviously, neither of them told me how stressful and ridiculous and annoying
Mhm.
and all this other stuff this industry was going to be, but that's why you do it, because you love it. You got to have a passion for it, man. It's not about getting rich and all that. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Actors invest in so many other things, even these well-known ones. Everybody thinks they're rich off of that. It's like, no, man. That's why they produce. That's why they invest in things. That's why they own companies. That's where the
Mhm.
money comes in from. Like, they do this because they love it. At the end of the day, they enjoy being on set. They enjoy working. So, if that's what you want to do, cool. But if you're trying to get paid, then maybe they're like the influencer lane for you. Like, they get paid, but you notice their movies, if they're in them, or their shows, don't last too long because it's like, all right, well, you're not a very good actor.
Mhm.
Well, they don't need to be. They're there to entertain. That's a difference.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you summed that up right there too. And thank you for sharing that about your journey, because a lot of people I tell about that's how it is with the stage and TV and
Hmm.
everything. We love the stage, and that's one of the things I start off with too. So thank you for
Right.
sharing that as well.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. So let's get into this real quick. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, this is the most important thing. You're
Hmm.
a girl dad.
Yeah, man.
So talk to us about that, and how has she helped you grown as a person as you raised her?
Man, it's I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with sharing this because I think mental health is definitely an important. I was a little bit shy about sharing it at first because it's not something that we share in our
Right.
community. But and my daughter's a little older now. I was leery about doing it too because she was younger, and these kids have access to all sorts of stuff. She's gonna
Yeah.
be 15 this year. I had just got laid off from my third corporate job.
Mm.
So this was at 2000, 2008. We had that whole market thing and crash and all that.
Right.
Um, and so I got laid off from a job there. And I got another job, got laid off there, and I got my third, kind of corporate job, I up. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna start pursuing this thing heavy. I was going back and forth to LA every year, like, just networking, doing that sort of thing. And I got
Hmm.
laid off from that job. My car broke down, like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call, and it was just like, hey, we need to talk. And it was like, hey, found out that I'm going to be having a child, and it wasn't planned because we were going our separate ways and all that other stuff. And um, I was going to go to LA, and then it was just like, all right, I have to now give up on my dream because I don't want to be a paycheck dad. You know what I mean? Like, my father wasn't
Right.
that. Even though my mother and my father were split, there was never any. My mother was never like, your daddy ain't this and blah blah. I was like, yo, you want to go see your father? Get out. He's 20 minutes away. Go hit the
Yeah.
bus, whatever.
Yeah.
And my father was like, all right, cool, go back to your mama. You know what I mean? Like, my
Mm.
father intentionally tried to stay relatively close to wherever we were, but obviously he wasn't going to North Carolina. He was like, yo, your mother just got to put you on a plane and get you here. So I didn't have an example of a bad father in regards to being there. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. Well, I guess this acting thing is gonna have to wait, and I'm just gonna have to try to find a job somewhere, hustle, do whatever. And this was, we were in Orlando, Florida at the time. My daughter's a true Floridian, born in Orlando, raised here. So,
Mm,
um, but I think shortly after she was born and nothing was shaking, and it was like, and you know how it goes with the stigma of like black fathers are never around. But what they
yeah.
don't tell you is, with this, and it's not on some political stuff, but it's just the real reality. It's the facts. You know, we we don't have the luxury in the black community of just being able to switch jobs and do that. We don't have that privilege, right?
Yeah.
So, when you have a child and then it's hard to find a well-paying job to take care of a child. Because I mean, now it's even worse, but back in 2010, man, daycares and stuff, the stuff's not cheap.
Yeah.
So, luckily, I mean, my mother, she wasn't too far away. She had moved to Florida, so she wasn't too far away. And then my brother was like an hour away. But we didn't want to rely on that. Like,
Right.
their kids are all grown. You know what I mean? So it was like, if we needed help, they could come in, but we still had to, figure it out. And it just got to the point, man, where it's like, hit rock bottom, and I couldn't get a job to save my life, like struggling. I was maxing out credit cards and all that.
Mhm.
And it just got to the point where it's like, uh, I'm doing more damage than good because I'm not
Right.
even in the same household. Like, I can't even get over there sometimes. I'm making her mom's late to work because I'm having to like push my car or like jerry rig it just so it can get there. But if I'm in an emergency, I can't even take my daughter to the hospital, whatever. So I was like, you know what, man, it's better for her to just move somewhere. And then the thought of that happened. I was like, I'm gonna be here by myself. I can't even see my daughter, whatever. So I was like, all right, there's no point in me being here anymore,
Yeah.
like on the planet anymore. And
Mhm.
with like, look, check this out. It ain't about you or me. It's about your daughter. And it's like you're cheating her if you do that. Like that's not fair to her. She didn't do anything to you. She didn't ask to be here. Um, and
Yeah.
once that resonated with me, it's like that's why I tell people literally, my daughter literally and you know figuratively as far as my career saved my life because
Mhm.
if she wasn't here, then I wouldn't be here. And then having her, and then that access, that wealth of emotion, because I'm very much like I'm very private with my emotions. Like I'm a true Scorpio. Like you're not gonna know how I'm feeling until it's too,
Yeah.
too late. At that
Yeah.
point, the train's done already smacked you in the
Yeah.
face. You don't even know.
Yeah.
But she, yeah, man, her being born just opened up a wealth of just emotion and yearning to be connected to someone. Because and it's not that bad against my family,
Right.
but we weren't the type of family to tell each other like I love you and all that other stuff. Like most it's like it was kind of unspoken. It was like all right, I'll see you later. Like but verbally saying that, and even for the first couple of years, my daughter was talking. She
Yeah.
would say I love you, and I wouldn't say it back because it was so foreign to me.
Ah.
you know
Yeah.
and so now it's just because of her I've gotten more comfortable with expressing that. I think maybe so if you ask her too much now, she's just like, all right, like
Yeah.
she's a
Yeah.
teenager now, so dad's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because she's into the same things that I'm into. Like when I was in school, I've been a drummer since I was 8. I've been involved in music. That's why I went to school for music. So marching band and all that. Now my daughter's just started high school. She's in marching band and she's playing clarinet, though she doesn't like drums. Um, and acting. My daughter's been acting since she was about 5 or 6. And I didn't want her to be an actress.
Yeah.
And she fell in love with it to the point to where she got upset when I was like, no, we're not doing audition. She would cry. So I was like, all right, let me see what's going on. So now she's going to performing arts school, and like this is what she wants to do. She's loving learning about film and TV. She's learning about building sets. She's been in a play. Been in Six the Musical. She's been on a couple commercials. She did a movie, Marvin Sapp's story that was on TV1. She played one of his daughters. Nice supporting role to her first one out the gate. Your first big audition, books it, becomes SAG eligible. And I'm like, boom, it took me 5 years
Like, girl,
to
you know
get
how
that.
hard?
Yeah, how hard that is to work to even get eligibility. You get to go to your room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she loves it, man. She enjoys it
Yeah.
thoroughly. And to me, I made the decision not to move to LA because I was like, I want to be here to foster that. I can go whenever I want, but I want to make sure she's good and understands. But yeah, she's been a lifesaver. I wasn't I'm not a very religious person, I'm very spiritual, but I have my belief. I definitely believe in the Creator and
Right.
the Most High. And I'm like, it was one of those things where I lost my faith because when I lost my dad, he died from cancer. So I was 19. The way I lost my father,
I'm sorry.
as far as thank you, as far as like he was sick, but then he got better and then it got worse. But by the time I found out, because they didn't really want to let me know I was in college, it was too late.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember the last words my father and I spoke to each other because he was sick for a while before they told me because they thought maybe he would turn around and then he didn't. And I was like, I guess. And shortly before that, in April, so I lost my father in October. And shortly before that, in April, my best friend who I'd grown up with, we're only 2 years apart, New York, he was shot and killed. So I was not having the best of year. And then this is 2001. So, September 11th happened after my best friend shot and killed. So even though wasn't affected personally by losing people in the towers, I went to school with people who were affected by that and all that. The singer, she passed, and that was like, I was like, that's gonna be my wifey. You know what I mean? Like, so that was crazy. I was like, 2001 was just the worst year ever, and and I lost my dad on Halloween, and because if you know anything about preparation, especially when somebody's sick, having to prepare the body if they're gonna get it because he wasn't cremated, so having to prepare the body and all that. The day of the funeral, I'm getting all these calls like on the old school phones, like you could change the antenna, those Nokias or whatever. I'm getting all sorts of texts and calls, and at the funeral, I'm like, yo, I didn't even tell anybody. Like I went to school with all this, and in the midst at the repast, people were just hugging me tight, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I lost my dad, yeah, all right, cool. And I'm checking my voicemails, and it's happy birthday. And I didn't realize that, we're at the funeral, and my birthday is on the 4th. So we're at the funeral, and like, that's how I celebrate my birthday. I'm just like, okay. So for a while there, for a few years, I was just miserable in regards to my birthday, just absolutely miserable. Like it came up like anybody asks me even now from Halloween to my birthday, it's better now because I'm gonna get to, but before my daughter was born, it was just like, don't talk to me. I would go in a hole. Like I didn't want to celebrate my birthday. I was just pissed. And I guess, my father's a stubborn dude. I don't kind of get it from him. Everybody says that, but he was kind of short tempered, southern, just one of those people that was like, all right, if something needs to get done, stop complaining about it. Just go do work. And I guess he got tired of watching over me and hearing me bitch and complain. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give you a better memory so you can shut up. So my daughter was actually born on my birthday, so we shared the same birthday. So, I was like, obviously that was for a reason. So now, when the birthday comes around, I have a little bit more, a more joyous thing to remember. Stick, girl, dad, y'all know how it is, man, where it's like they hit you in the feels, but I truly think in all aspects, any dad who's involved in his daughter's life, I truly think that daughters make us better men. I really do. Because they soften us, and I think sometimes you need to be a little bit more softened. But make sure you hit the lottery because daughters are expensive. So I'm sure sons are too, but a different way. Sons are expensive because we're reckless. The sons are like expensive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure Tab, they're like, I have to have this, but I have to have this.
Well,
but okay, this, but we need this.
My second son, he looks expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. His hair, his clothes, he gotta be fresh.
I mean, because that's what listen, if he trying to, he got a little, friend that he's trying to impress, you gotta be on point. You gotta have your line up, and you can't be out there.
But my daughter,
so that's good.
She's very clingy to me. So
good
girl, she's very. I've been waiting for her for years, saying she's the baby.
Oh yeah, it's over. She's
spoiled. She's a twin.
Oh yeah.
See, there you go. So that's what's up. Awesome.
Yeah. And then,
y'all gonna be best friends for a while.
My little broke bestie. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
So now that you done worked with a lot of great actors and directors, what's a funny story that come to mind that you want to share?
I it's always a fun time on set, but I get called in for a lot of these serious drama roles and stuff like that. I'm like, I just now did the comedy. Shout out to Creighton Durst. I just did the comedy in Texas, in Dallas, and that was so much of a relief because I was like, yes, finally, I get to be
Yes,
funny.
finally.
Um, and he was definitely fun to work with, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff together. He's a phenomenal director. But I guess a funny story would be not so much about. I don't think it's so much about me, and this probably isn't funny because it could have gone left. But we're on a set of Loving, the movie Loving I did with Jeff Nichols as the director, Ruth Negga, Joel Edgerton, my brother Will Dalton, funny guy. So Loving takes place in the 50s, and if you guys don't know, it's Richard and Mildred Loving versus state of Virginia, where it was illegal to have interracial marriage. Like you couldn't even be a couple in Virginia. Yeah, and thank you. Yeah. We had a great time shooting that, and everybody was phenomenal. The whole cast was phenomenal. My sister Ebony, she does a great job. I'm surprised she's not working more because that's one of those things that makes me mad because Terry did so great in that movie, and it's like she's not getting the flowers. So my boy Will Dalton, we're in the 50s. So the thing about Richard Lovett was he was on a race team. Like it wasn't like a NASCAR race team, but how like Fast and Furious, they have their street races and all that. This is how they used to do it in the 50s. They had the hot rods, but they would actually go to a track. They wouldn't race on the street. Mm-hmm. So we're portraying that scene. And my character is like the financier guy. He's the one that goes to hustle. Like, my team is better than yours. Put money on it. Bet. What's up? So it's that scene where we're setting that up. And Will is one of the drivers. So he's in this like 1953 or 4. I forgot it was like a Chevy or something, or Ford. I forgot. It was like an old school car, but it was stick. So Will's like, yeah, I know how to drive a stick. Man, I got you. And I'm looking like, yeah, but this is an old school stick. It's a little different. He's like, I got it. And just like, you sure? The director, he's like, yeah. So Will gets behind the car. He's like, yeah, I'm ready. And Jeff's explaining the shot. Jeff's standing in front of the car. He's explaining the shot. And all of a sudden, Will just, I don't know what he was thinking. I guess he lost the clutch or something. But the car just lurches forward. Jeff's standing there, and he misses Jeff. I'm not even exaggerating. It couldn't have been no more than 6 inches. I mean, he missed hitting Jeff by like that much. And Jeff just stands there. And Jeff has this thing where he's explaining he had hair. He like does this with his hair, to get it out of his face. And Jeff just said, and everybody's just like, you almost killed the director. Like nobody's moving. We're just standing there. And Will's sitting there like this at the wheel. And Jeff's just like, okay. You sure you know how to drive this thing? Like, bro, you almost got killed. You super calm right now. That's scary.
That is scary.
And afterwards, Will's sitting there like, man, I thought I was going to get fired, blah, blah, blah. And Jeff is in there. But to me, it's just funny because it goes back to the whole thing of actors will lie to get the job sometimes. Hey, do you know how to do this?
Man.
Yeah. Especially if you know you're like, if you say no, you're not getting the job. Like they want you, they just gotta make sure. Can you really do martial arts? Man, yeah, he used to call me Bruce Lee back in the day, blah blah. Whatever, and then you'll go on YouTube real quick. How do you do this kick? You know what I mean? You'll do all that. And I'm pretty sure Will knows how to drive a stick, but I think he also knew like, hey man, this is a different car. But too late now. You already drive a seat. But the fact that he almost hit Jeff, man, I to this day we still laugh about it. But at the time it wasn't funny. But now we laugh about it because it's like, yo, you would have gone down in history as the guy that killed one of the best directors that we had, one of the best storytellers that we had, because your ass tried to drive a car knowing you couldn't drive it. And I was just like standing on the sidelines, like, I'm gonna go one way or another way. I'm gonna see what happens. Hey, y'all want me to step in and do it? I know how to do it. You want me to step in? So it was interesting. But most times, it's little things that happen here and there that make you laugh. But that was probably one of the more memorable experiences we had, just because
Mm.
That shoot was so many things in that going on with that shoot that were postponing us. Like we had a tornado come through.
Oh.
It was always raining, like things like that. But the fact that the movie came out still so beautifully was a testament to everybody's hard work. You know, the cast, the crew, everybody just put in work and was like, you know what, look, we're not making a hell of a lot of money on this, but it's an important story. It needs to be told. And we think people are gonna rock with it. And you know, every once in a while, I'll get messages in my DMs like, "Hey, I just saw Love It, man. The movie was amazing. You know,
Mhm.
I can't believe I didn't see it in the theaters, whatever, whatever." So yeah, you know, that was probably just how calm and cool Jeff Nichols is as a director to be like, "Dude, you almost got hit by a car." You're like, "All right, so we still gonna get shot." I'm like, "Man, look, I would have lost it.
Yeah.
I would have lost it. I would have yanked him out of that car." So, yeah, man, but that explains why his films are so good. So that's probably one of the memories I probably that'll stick with me forever. It's like reminds me to just be chill. You know how we always lie on our resume as actors, but also if you're directing, just to be safe. But it's like, yo, nothing's worth blowing a gasket for. If you're calm, the rest of your crew and you're the leader of the ship. If you're calm, everybody else is gonna be calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Man. Look, hey, real quick to all actors out there. We understand. Even Mila Kunis lied about her age to get on set. Y'all, please
Yeah,
be careful doing what y'all do. Just this is a message right here, please, y'all.
right, right. If you're gonna lie, at least be able to do it a little bit. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like, don't just say it and you can't do anything. You're gonna mess around and get hurt. At least be able to do a little bit, and then go practice real quick before you get on set.
yeah. Please, man. Man, real quick. So I know that you have your own organization. You're an acting
Hmm.
coach, all that. So talk about that real quick with your organization, and
Sure.
also how you got into becoming to giving back and helping others sharpen their skills.
Cool. So, Life of an Actor, officially started in 2012
Yeah.
as far as the organization and the acting studio. But I was here, like I said, my daughter was just born. She was a year in 2011, obviously. She was a year old, and I was like, you know what, all right, cool. Let me grind harder with the acting thing since, these other jobs ain't panning out. Little side gigs here and there. It's like I'm on temp work and all this other stuff. So, there's a casting director down here, remain nameless because I'm not a big fan of them. But they were casting a film that I was shooting here, big film, major film that I was shooting here. And I had to go down south to audition for it. I had to go toward Miami to audition for it. And so, I drove for Miami from Orlando, depending on how you're driving, is anywhere 3 to 4 hours if you don't hit traffic.
Hmm.
So, I had to get up, drive to Miami. It was like a 2-minute audition, if that. The role wasn't that big, but it was like, all right, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm in a scene opposite some, notable actors. So I was like, let me go get this money. So I drove, paid all his money, tolls, gas, all that to go down that way. Get into the room. Casting director was super disrespectful, to the point of it was just like, you know what the hell with this, man? Like just rude. Got up out of there, drove back. And I was heavy on Twitter at the time, X, whatever the hell you still Twitter to me. So I was driving back, and this is it. And actually, somebody sent it to me, and that's I was like, wow, okay, cool. That way, nobody can dispute that I started this hashtag and all that other stuff. So if you guys remember the old school American Express commercials where it was like,
Hmm.
uh, cup of coffee, $5, going down the street to get a bagel, $3. Sitting outside and having a bird come and steal your breakfast, priceless. You know what I mean? Like in those type of commercials back then. So I did a text or did a tweet, and I was like, round trip from Miami to Orlando, $90. You know, getting lunch and going over your lines, $20. Walk into the casting room and the casting director is a complete asshole. Hashtag
Mm.
life of an actor. That's
Yeah.
what I put. So when I put that and I put the hashtag LOAA, and then people were like, "What's LOAA? What the hell does that stand for?" And I was like, "Life of an actor," because people thought I was trying to put LOL, and I was like, "No, life of an actor."
Wow.
And I don't know what happened, but next thing I know, everybody was using that hashtag. Like people were just like, "Yeah, man, I just killed this life of an actor," blah blah. And of course, you can't police the internet, so people try to pass it off as their own. But a lot of people know it's like,
Right.
nah, he used that. So somebody had recommended it was like, "Yo, man, you've coached actors with taping before, and you've directed a short film. Like, why don't you think about teaching?" I was like, I don't know nothing about it. I'm still learning as an actor. So I studied with a mentor and a couple of mentors, and then when I decided to teach, I reached out to one in particular who's still good, friend of mine and a mentor in his own right. Phenomenal teacher. His name is Rob Moss. He teaches over at Truthful Acting Studios, and his name again is Rob Moss. He's literally a student of the craft. Like that's all he does is study acting and the history of it and the origin of it, which is why he's such a great damn teacher. And he's just a good friend, also good guy. And he's the one that kind of made me feel good and gave me the blessing. He won't claim it, but he was that gave me the blessing of, hey man, I think you're ready to teach, and been doing it ever since 2012. So, 13 years now, I guess, 14 years. And it's just been great. So started life of an actor, and the
Mm,
whole purpose of, yes, I teach all different techniques because I'm like Rob, I've studied all the different techniques and with different people. But the purpose of life and actor is to educate actors on it's a lifestyle, man. And it's not about the glitz and glamour style. It's how you live your life will determine how you are as an actor, in my opinion. If you stay bottled in and stay at home, you're going to get those type of roles, introverts or whatever, because you haven't gone and experienced what it's like to be truly joyful, truly excited, to get into a bar fight. Not that you get in a bar fight, but even witness, these different things. So,
Mhm.
how
mm,
can you portray a thug and you at home all day doing nothing? You haven't been to the hood, you haven't
yeah,
been on the corner. It's like, how can you play a lawyer when you haven't, been to a courtroom hearing, or you haven't, gone out and sat in a legal class or anything like these state type of things? It's like go and have these experiences, and that'll give you that wealth of knowledge and emotion to go and play these things. So we do different things every month. We have guest speakers come in and speak, different actors, directors, I've had casting directors, which, these are cast directors that I trust. A lot of
mm,
casting directors teach, but in my opinion, they're not really very versed on what they're teaching. They're teaching how to audition for them, not the craft of acting. I like casting directors who understand the craft of acting and respect actors. Directors, producers, and we'll go and do different things. Like we'll go, almost like team building. We'll go bowling, we'll go to gun range, we'll go painting,
yeah,
we'll go salsa dancing, we'll go do all different sorts of things as a group, because it's like you never know if you'll gravitate and like this. And now that's an extra skill set you can add on the resume because you've done this. But also, you never know who you're going to meet at these functions.
yeah,
And these people could be an influence to you, whether you're writing a character, whether you're trying to direct, or as an actor, you get into an audition and it's like, oh, I remember this guy from salsa class. I'm gonna try to channel him or her,
yeah,
you know. And
Mhm.
so to me, that's why it's called Life of an Actor. To me, I really feel like as an actor, you have to go live life, and it will assist you in telling stories. Because you think about it, that's why, if you really think about it, and we've lost this art just as people in general, as a human race, unfortunately, through the technology. Every time you went to your grandparents' house
Mhm.
and you were eating, or there was a little bit of whatever, that shine, tequila, whatever they was drinking, all these amazing stories would come from them. And we would chalk it up when we were younger as, oh, they grandma drunk, grandpa drunk, whatever. But if now that you're older, you're like, no, these were real legit stories they were telling,
Mhm.
and things that, look at the things that they experienced in their life. They didn't have social media. They had to be outside. They had to go
mm,
experience these things. They didn't stay locked in. And there's all these amazing stories that they're telling. They were the best storytellers. And to me, it's like,
yeah,
okay, well, to live a long life, you got to go experience stuff, in my opinion, and that makes you a great storyteller. And I think that's what a lot of actors are missing now. It's like outside of the training, that's
mm,
why plays are so powerful, and that's why they stand the test
yeah,
of time. These are the playwrights that have written about things that are still even relevant today. And
yeah,
you go to stage play and you're impacted by it, and it's because these are storytellers that know how to tell these stories. You immerse us in this world with your words, even though we know that stage doesn't have all that cool. And the same thing on film and television. When you're doing a good enough job telling a story, people call you by your character name. That's the best compliment you can have, is because
that's
you did
right.
such a good job immersing them in that world. So I'm like, yo, man, I tell my students all the time, like, go live, go enjoy, go do something every week. Try to find something new. Even if you just go to the park and walk around and watch people do something. You know what I
Yes,
mean? You'll pick up on so many things that's like, man, I didn't realize people still did that. Or that's an interesting little walk, or that's an interesting little tick that they have. and then you can
Yeah.
incorporate that in what you do. And I mean, at least it's helped me. I can only teach from my experience and the things I've learned and studied and whatnot. And I tell my students, I'm like, some of those roles that I've gotten because I was reminded of an experience I had with another human being or watching another human being, and I channeled that, and it was like, all right, cool, boom, let's see if this works, and it wound up working.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too because I tell people that all the time. Like, find something else to do to feed your art. Like, I'll go to
Hmm.
like a museum or walk downtown and take pictures
Right,
or and stuff
right,
like that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something that's very
yeah,
important. Like, get out, just go live life, like you said.
right, right,
Yeah.
100%.
I feel like he's talking directly to me.
Oh, good,
I'm in the
good.
middle. I just became an ambivert. So
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
around people too much, my social
Yeah,
battery get a little low. So then I
right.
don't want to do nothing no more.
Right. And that makes sense because also depends on the type of people because you can learn from both. You can be around that crowd that's like, nah, I can't rock with these people. And that's an experience too. And yeah, definitely get up out of it. But then you might find that crowd that's like, man, I've been here for like 3 hours. Because energy is a big thing. That's a real thing. A lot of
Yeah.
people kind of dismiss it, but energy is a real thing, man. If you vibe with somebody, you vibe with them. You know what I mean? So I don't, I don't fault you for that at all. I just think it's if you're gonna be in this industry you got to kind of force yourself. It's like an athlete. It's like an athlete, a professional athlete who doesn't want to go to the gym. It's like when you're in the wrong business, bro. Like that's part of you got to do that. If you're gonna compete, you got to do that. You know what I mean? You might hate it, but you got to do it. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing with us as actors. It's like we have to go immerse ourselves in these different cultures, and whether it's the gym, concerts, and I'm not just talking like Beyonce concert, like go to an orchestra concert too. You know what I mean? Like all that sort of stuff and just experience those feelings. Even basketball games. I'm like, I tell actors, I'm like, hey man, if you want to play a basketball player hitting the game winning shot, go to a pro basketball game and hopefully you experience that and feel the energy in the air where people are
Mm,
quiet, watching the basketball go up and it goes in and everybody explodes. I'm like, know what that feels like so you can portray that on screen if you're playing a fan or if you're playing the person that shot it. I'm like all these things, there's might be subtle things, but those little subtleties that might be what gets you the job.
yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your projects that you've been a part
Sure.
of,
Oh
like
boy.
Conjuring. I know that's
Mhm.
a scary movie. I ain't a big fan of scary movies like that no more. I
Most people
was as
most
a
people ain't.
kid, but then there's also the Jeffrey Dahmer series that you was
Mhm.
in. How do you approach or how do you separate those different genres? Like, how do you
Mhm.
approach those scenes and how you unpack the weight of those scenes that you're in?
Yeah, so I saw a clip very early on, an interview of Denzel after he did Training Day,
Mm,
and he was speaking to a bunch of students in New York. I don't know if he was at NYU Tisch or I forgot where he was, but he was at some event in New York. And the clip is you could tell it's old because it's all grainy and stuff, but it's circulating. And he was talking about how he had the pleasure of getting advice from Sidney Poitier when he was starting out. And
Mhm.
Sidney told him, you're judged based on like the first, 3 or 4 films or whatever you do in this industry. So that's what they kind of figure, oh, this is the type of actor you're going to be based on that. And at this point, Denzel had already done St. Elsewhere, like he did his,
mm,
failed British accent that everybody jokes on him about, but he's still the GOAT. So even though it was bad, it's still better than most of us can do. But, he obviously realized TV wasn't necessarily going to be his thing, so stage and film was going to be his thing. And he was in that interview. He said, there's always this desperation, like, hey, we need the money, we need the money. As actors, we got to take care of family. But he also remembered you got to be very careful on what you do
mm,
because you want to play to your strengths. So he talks about in the in the clip, a studio came to him, white executives and producers, and they wanted to make a movie and he calls it the nigga they couldn't kill in the clip. But
yeah.
he's like, that wasn't the name of it. But he was like, this is basically a period piece. And the guy is accused of raping a white woman. So they try to hang him and they electrocute him. And no matter what they do to him, he doesn't die, but he keeps coming back to suffer. And he's, yes, sir, a master and all that other stuff. And it's like, then it's like he's in the audition, like, are you serious? And the white guys are laughing, like it's a comedy. He's like, it ain't funny to
Mm,
me.
no.
He's like, yeah, he's like, and then the example he gave them was, how about we do a movie where we round up a bunch of Jewish people and they go into a store and then we find out it's filled with gas and then they're struggling to breathe. That's funny. And he was like, the guy, all the white guys, because some of them were Jewish, were like this. He's like, yeah, that's not funny, is it? He's like,
Mm.
no. He's like, so why would you think this is funny? And so he turned it down. He said they were gonna offer him $600,000 to do that movie at the time. This is back in, like he said, late '80s, might have been early '90s.
Mm.
But early enough in his career, with 600,000 was gonna be helpful. And he said, I think it was late '80s actually timeline. So if you go back, I think it
Mm.
was late '80s. And he talked to his wife, and Miss Pauletta was like, nah, if you ain't rocking with it, don't do it. And he was sick because he's like, I'll turn this down. Nobody's ever going to ask me to come back. And then he got Cry Freedom after that, so which set him off as like, yo, he's the GOAT. Like, this guy's nice. So he was like, always go with your gut and go from there. So I heeded that advice. So every time I get a role, whether it's big or small, I try to switch it up on my resume. So I don't, like, if I'm playing a thug this month, I'm not going to do that for a while. If I'm playing a dad, I'm not going to do like, it has to be very specific and different. So with Conjuring, that was a direct offer. Actually, I didn't have to audition for that. The casting directors were familiar with me, and they were like, "Hey, this is a smaller part," but I'm like, it's the Conjuring franchise. Like, people watch that. So I was like, yeah, it's a smaller part, but I ain't got to audition. Yeah, I'll take the check. Cool. And it's a period thing. So, they had me clean shave. I had the porn stash going on. I had to do a little mini fro.
Yeah.
And I had to drive that damn car. That car had no power steering, man. I hate it. I was so stuck. I was like, hey, man, you might have to get in here and do this because I ain't work my forearms out. I'm like, doing this. And oddly enough, I made the trailer. That was one of those trailer roles. It was like, oh, I made
Yeah.
the trailer, and everybody knows that. And obviously, I'm in the movie as well. But to me, it was a cop trying to do his job, and a black cop on top of that, in this, rural area where it's like, not too many of us. You know what I mean? So country as hell. So I'm like, all right, let me just do what I do, and see what happens. And people like it. Versus Dahmer, that was different to me because not only is it based, I mean, Conjuring is based on a true story too, obviously,
Right.
but Dahmer had this thing of, like I said, I was never a very religious person.
Mm.
So when I got the audition, it was like I'm playing a priest, a Catholic priest on top of that, a chaplain, but he's still, they call him chaplains because they're in the prison, but he's still a priest. I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, that's gonna be a challenge for me because
Mm.
that's not my wheelhouse. So, I reached out to some brothers that I knew were, very religious, and was like, hey, man, all right, cool. Did my research on the Dahmer thing. And luckily, we had a tech advisor on set, Father Michael. I spoke to him a little bit, and I'm glad I did it because I knew it was going to be a challenge for me religious wise. But then Father Michael opened up a whole new realm for me for that role, which is why there's a lot of, even though I talk a lot, there's a lot of saying without actually talking, like actively making sure I'm listening to him. Because Father Michael basically said, I asked him, I said, how could you do this job, man? I said, somebody comes to you, you go to a prison, and an inmate asks for forgiveness and wants to be accepted into the, the kingdom of God, and obviously there's different ways how you get there, Christianity versus Catholicism or whatever. But I'm like, how do you bring somebody to God that microwave their baby? They're 3 month old. Like, I'm like,
Mm.
how can you look somebody in the face and be like, yeah, God's gonna forgive you? I'm like, no, you should be like, no, you're going straight to hell, bro. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, and he said, I'll never forget, young guy, white guy, Father Michael. He was like mid-30s. Well, he's younger than me, so I call him young guy. But and he looked at me, he said, you're an actor, right? I said, yes, sir. And he's like, so when you show up to work, he was like, do you judge your character? I said, no, that's rule number one. You never judge a character, otherwise
Mm.
you can't play him. And he looked at me and smiled, and I said, ah. He said, when I
Mm.
have this collar on,
Mhm.
my job is not, I'm not God. My job is not to judge you. When I'm wearing this collar, my job is, or this collar, my job is to get you over to God. Hey, God, this is one of your lost children. This is God. Have this conversation. I'm out. At that point, it's God's point to judge you. Like, I can't judge you. All I can do
Yeah.
is make the introduction. From there, I don't know what's gonna happen. He's like, now when the collar's off, he said, yeah, I go home with some of this stuff and I'm angry. Like, how could they do this to this person? Like, why would you do this to a person? But he's like, this is my work uniform and I have to act accordingly. And I was like, oh damn. He said, so when I'm doing a scene with Evan, who was phenomenal, Evan Peters is
Yeah.
fantastic. Fantastic, and such a nice guy too. He's fully locked
Yeah.
in. He stays in the character, but when we're wrapped, nicest guy, coolest cat.
Yeah.
And, you know, just listening to him and what he embodied and the transcripts that we found, like at first Dahmer apparently was doing it for the recognition and money because he was trying to be like John Wayne Gacy and like, oh, if I tell everybody I'm, a lover of God now, they're gonna forgive me and I'm gonna get all these letters and get all this stuff. But supposedly, according to the transcripts, he actually started before he was killed in prison, started getting heavy into it and really realized, oh man, like, maybe I do need to seek this path of forgiveness. And that was because of the chaplains that, baptized him and did all that other stuff. So it was interesting to see that. But yeah, when I get roles, like I look for those little nuances that are gonna make it different. And, if it's a cop, okay, well, what kind of cop? Is he a training day cop or is he like a save the world Superman cop? Is he a rookie cop? Is he a veteran cop? If it's the same run of the mill, get your hands in the air. I'll turn down roles like that all day. When I wanted to start playing a dad, that's why I was particular with my team. Like, if it's not a dad role, nope. And then I put that power of words right into the universe. Hey, I want to play a dad. I want to play a dad. And then I got like 4 or 5 dad roles, but they were all different. I have some of the best looking kids, by the way, on film and TV. Shout out to all the actors, young actors
Yeah.
that play my kids, man. I'm like, damn, I make some good looking kids.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, so and they're all the kids that have played my children on TV or film are like doing big things right now. So I'm super proud of them and shout out to all of them and or shout out to their parents for allowing me to borrow their children too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I look at it. Now I'm back in my bad guy phase. I want to be a bad guy now. I've done all these nice,
Mm.
good roles. Even the role that I have coming up in the Murdoch series about Alex Murdoch. Who is on it's going to be on Hulu. It drops in October, and I guest star on that show. I'm playing again a nice guy. I mean, I'm being mean to him, but I'm a guy that does my job, does it well, family man. Like he loves his job, and he's not going to be bought. You know, but I really want to get into the bad guy thing now. I want to go back into let me be a straight mean ass
Yeah.
like beat up kids, slap women, that whole like because
That's
you
Yeah.
gotta
beautiful.
to me, yeah, because you gotta have to me, it's like you gotta have balance, and I also want to
Right.
show that range. Like, yo, I don't agree with this character at all that I'm playing. I would never do anything like that, but I'm a performer and I'm telling a story, and this happens to be the story that I'm telling, where this guy is a complete dirtbag and he deserves his, whatever he's getting at the end of the film, the show, whatever. When he get lit up, he deserves that because this is the type of life he led. So if you're gonna learn anything from this story, is don't be that dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Congrats on that too. I'm definitely like October right around the corner, so we definitely keep an eye out on that as
Yeah,
well.
it's up on Hulu, man. So it's
Yeah.
it's again another based on a true story. I don't know why I keep getting those. I'm not complaining. That's like,
Hey.
hey, you need some like crime drama or somebody did some foul stuff. Call Chris. He's perfect for that. I'm like, okay.
Like
So,
all
but yeah,
yeah.
that's a good story coming up. It's about the Murdoch family in South Carolina, and there was a big thing back in like I think it was 2018. They're one of their children, like they were one of those affluent families, white families that run everything in a small town, and one of the kids got drunk and had a boat crash and killed one of the young lady, his girlfriend in the town that was revered and admired, and the family covered it up. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just definitely they've got a couple of documentaries out on Netflix right now, but this is the first scripted series that's been out because I think Bill Pullman they did like a movie on it and Bill Pullman played him, but I don't think it was a
Yeah.
series. But this is the first series on it, so it's gonna be interesting. Got some heavy hitters in this series too, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it and whatnot. And hopefully, I did everybody in South Carolina a little justice because I had to study and call some people and work on the accent a little bit because their accent's a little different than North Carolina. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, hopefully I don't mess it up, but I digress. So yeah,
Yeah.
so check it out. It'll be on Hulu mid-October, I believe it is.
Okay.
Bet. Definitely got popcorn and good drink ready, man. Man,
Yeah.
it's so much that you've done. I know we couldn't unpack everything, but
Right.
appreciate you for being so vulnerable with sharing everything
Thank
and
you.
dropping gems. I know it was I know a lot to unpack, and just so
Mhm.
from us, from the show to you, thank you for that.
Of course.
One last thing before you go,
Sure.
what's one gem that you can share with the audience that has helped you as not just as an actor but as a person that you can share to help somebody else?
Hmm. And I'm still learning this too. I mean, it's a couple of different things, but I would say, well, two separate things. I would say on the acting end, as far as film and TV industry goes, theaters, politics is a little bit, but it's still more on the craft, thankfully. The politics hasn't infiltrated that too much. But when it comes to on camera, understand that this industry revolves around ego and finance.
Mm,
And what I think people don't realize is you should only have an ego if you have the finances. Because if you have the money, you can do whatever
mm,
you want. Not saying it's right, but and on camera, you can create, do whatever you want. But if you don't have the finances, you shouldn't have an ego. Because what happens is you go in with an ego and no finances, and then you start treating people poorly. And it's
yeah,
like people ain't gonna tolerate that. Even when if you do have the finances, people are not gonna tolerate being treated poorly.
yeah,
They're only gonna tolerate to a point. Because like in this instance, okay, I'm gonna let you get away with that slick talk right now because I got a mortgage to pay, but you do it again, I'm about to punch you in your face. You know, it's
yeah,
and that's what this industry revolves around. It's like the people that have the most money, they have the biggest egos because people will stroke their egos. The people who have the biggest
yeah.
egos typically have no money.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that kind of get in trouble and alienate people. So I would say if you're a starting out actor, just keep your ego in check. Even though pride is one of the deadly sins to me, it depends. It depends on how prideful you are, where it leads into ego. Be proud of what you do. Like you took some classes and you learned a monologue, or whatever. Go around and be proud of that. Hey, look, it took me a month to get this thing down that you guys appreciate. I'm proud of myself. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing egotistical about that. Now, if you walk in the room and go, "I'm the best actor in the room because I learned this monologue in a month," that's your ego talking. That's not pride. That's your
Mm,
ego talking.
Mhm.
So be proud of what you do because that will propel you because you have to be your biggest cheerleader and then stack your finances, man. Don't go out and blow that check. Yeah, we get a big lump sum for top of show guest star or whatever. You get the series regular. Yeah, you get all that money at once, but then you may not work again for 2 years.
mm,
So stack your finances and check your ego is essentially what I would say. Have more pride than be egotistical. As far as on the human element, this is something that I'm learning still is you got to learn to read the room. I think people, especially with us, we have to like a lot of times obviously code switch and all that other stuff. Be yourself, always be yourself, but check the room. So like if you walk into a room and you're going to be the bull in the china shop, like you're very opinionated and very strong, it's okay to keep your mouth shut at that point. Somebody asks you, hey, you asked me a question, I'm answering honestly. You don't like it, then go talk to somebody else. But don't actively engage yourself in a conversation because it's like the room is not going to buzz and go, hey, he's the problem, she's the problem, he's the problem, she's the problem. You know, so I would say just be careful and read the room because, you never want to compromise yourself, but you also don't want to compromise anybody else, especially in today's world, because people don't know how to disagree without disrespecting, is what I
mm.
found, especially online.
Yes.
And people take it so seriously. It's like, you go watch a movie and go, eh, I'm not a fan of that movie. I didn't really like it. And you're not, you know, disrespecting the filmmaker. You don't go, this movie sucks because Spike Lee sucks and all like, this thing with highest to lowest. Like to me, I'll watch, I'm like, hey, I don't think it was Spike's best, but it's still better than what I would do because it's Spike Lee. Like he's nice with this. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it. Just, to me, it wasn't his best.
Yeah.
And the amount of slack I got, people sliding in my DMs, like, you're disrespectful. And that's why he'll never work with you. But I'm like, shut your ass up. Go home. Like, you don't
Right.
like it, here's the block button, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to like every single movie that comes out, just like you don't have to like every movie that comes out, every actor, every whatever. That's cool. We could disagree about it and have the conversation respectfully. You don't have to be disrespectful, but when you start disrespecting people, this online stuff is getting people in trouble because now people are really pulling up on people.
Right.
Cats, I'm just okay, cool, no problem. And then they run into, yeah, you was the guy online, right? What's up now? And
Mm,
and I don't condone that either, but I'm like, yo, if you were in this person's presence, you wouldn't talk that way to them.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you were
Mm,
just a foul person. And most people aren't like that. So, yo, just read the room. Go in, hey, how you doing? And walk in with confidence, your chest poked out, introduce yourself, have the conversation. If they don't rock with you, all right, cool. Well, you go your way, I'll go my way, and that's it. We don't have to ever speak to each other again. That's fine. There's 7 billion people, 7+ billion people on this planet. I'll probably never see you again, if we're not gonna rock like that. And that's just what it is, especially in this industry. This industry is small, but just be a good person, man. Just be a good person. Don't be a diva. Don't be an asshole. Just be a good person. Then you'll be amazed at how far that will get you. But again, also believe in yourself. I love that knock yourself out. Jadakiss, of course I'm gonna rep him because he's from Yonkers and of course he's a New York rapper. Top five. Argue with your mama. That's one of those
Of course,
situations. Don't
of
argue with me.
course, of course.
Jadakiss is nice. But
He
he's
is.
got this, he's got this line in Knock Yourself Out. Um, I believe it's Knock Yourself Out is the album. I'm trying to think of the whole verse.
Versus,
Yeah, it's Knock
yeah.
Yourself Out because I think the verse. But he's a line in
Okay.
there that says he's like, and I'm not cocky, I'm confident. So when you tell me I'm the best, it's a compliment. And I love that line because he's
Mm,
saying, like, when I walk in the room, I know I'm the best at what I do. I didn't say I was the best in the room. I said I'm the best at what I do.
I
Meaning when
do.
it comes to spitting these bars, you're gonna be hard pressed to find people better than me. And I'm
Yeah.
confident in that. Now you may see it as cockiness because I'm intimidating you or you don't feel as good. That's you. I didn't tell you this. That was your perception of me when I walked in because I walked in with my head held high and my chest out, like I'm ready. I'm ready for war. Like, what's up? Who want it? And if I lose, I lose, but I know I'm great at what I do. That just means you're better than me, which makes me work harder. But if Jadakiss is cocky. No, 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 no. That's what you think. I'm just confident. So when you tell me, you think you're the best, I'm the best, I take that as a compliment because I work for that. And that's how I approach going into any audition, going into any director session, going into any callback meeting, on set, whatever. I don't care who's on set. Yeah, of course, if Denzel's on set, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, it's Denzel. Oh man. But
He
I'm
with
also
it.
gonna walk up to him like, hey, I'm on the same set as you and I'm in the same scene as you, which means clearly I'm good enough. They thought I was good enough to go toe to toe with you. So I'm gonna walk in with that energy. Now, if I get drug across this damn set, but I would hope so. You've been doing this professionally damn near as long as I've been alive. So I
Mm,
would hope you would be that good, but don't get it twisted. And this ain't gonna be a walk in the park. I'm gonna come in and do what I do, and I'm either gonna earn your respect or you're gonna see me as a threat. Either way, to me, that's a compliment. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Especially to somebody like that. So yeah, I would say just do that, and everything will work out, man. Marathon, not a sprint. This industry has been around since the early 1900s. As far as film and stage has been around longer, but film and television has been around since the early 1900s. Like it ain't going nowhere. It's different. It's definitely different now, but it ain't going nowhere. Movies are still gonna be made, stories are still gonna be told on film and on camera and digital and all that. And stages are still gonna be around for people to stand on and perform.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're gonna be considered one of the greats of those is up to you and the work you put in. So
Yeah.
that's basically what I would say.
Yes, sir. Drop some bars right there. He did say he's from New York, ladies and gentlemen. So,
I mean, that's who
hey,
you are. I mean, I might spit a
hey,
little something. Hey, wait, you know what I'm
little
saying? A little
something.
something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, ladies and gentlemen, man, Chris, man, I appreciate you. You definitely can come back
Thank
on the
you.
show whenever. We really
Appreciate
enjoyed
it.
this time, man. I know we went over the time, but it was great
It's all
conversation.
good, man. I appreciate. I hope I didn't keep y'all too late, man. I saw the time. I was like, man, I'm over here running my mouth, but thank you guys.
No,
Thank
we
you,
enjoyed
Tabitha
it.
and Jaffe. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, this platform is for all of us. So we just appreciate you just sharing this and your expertise and everything. So thank you again,
Of
man.
course,
Yeah.
of
So
course.
ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Chris Greene. Make sure y'all check out everything that he said, he dropped, and things that he's done in the past. Check out the boy, brother IMDb. Man's cold with it. So, and you're gonna see him in more things
Thank
coming
you.
soon. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen.
I
Chris
accept that.
Abrams Show. Blessings, blessings.